Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily update, excuse me, for November 21st. It's a Saturday. So, as a result, Saturday numbers are typically on the low side for COVID, and that, which is kind of a mixed bag for us today, and I'll explain that in a minute. Let's get to the let's kind of get into the numbers first, though. Today, we are looking at 6,224 new cases, which is the third straight decline in just raw number of cases. Fourth straight, sorry. Since we hit our record on the 18th, which was Wednesday, the 18th. We had 7,989 cases. That was the highest we ever had. We had 6635 on Thursday, 6473 on Friday, and then 6224 today. That is due in part, at least in part, actually, it's pretty much entirely due to fewer tests. So, when people say to you, like, yeah, of course you get more cases when you get more tests, the reverse is also true. Our rates of positive tests have remained relatively consistent over, just the daily rates for those 3 days have been relatively consistent. And as the number of tests have come down, the number of cases come down. I would also expect that to continue tomorrow and Monday, just because there aren't as many labs running tests over the weekend, right? Now, the daily positive test rate, meaning the percentage of today's tests that were positive, was 34.8%. Yesterday was 33.8, so it's a little bit higher. But the good news, if you want to say it's good news, if there's any good news in this at all, is that the 7-day positive test rate, which is really that's kind of the seminal number that I'm looking at right now, is sort of the best indication of sort of how good or how bad is the state right now. Is actually went down again. This is the sixth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, seventh. Like this entire week, it's gone down every day, which is great. It's still high, 30.6, but it's a full percentage point lower than it was yesterday. And it was almost it was 1.5 points lower yesterday than it was the day before that. So that's good to see. I can't quite explain it though, and I'm going to show you a graph in a second, and just to talk you through what that looks, what that really means, maybe, or just what it looks like and how potentially significant that is. So that's the good news, that positive test rate is coming down. Bad news is that coming down right now isn't going to affect our level of fatalities right now, because the fatalities and hospitalizations we're seeing now come from cases that we saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? So that's kind of the bad news, is we are still really at the height of our fatalities so far, and it's going to get worse. Okay, today we had 51 more fatalities reported. Now, again, fewer fatalities are reported on the weekends, because we don't have anything where like somebody dies of COVID and immediately it is entered into the state data and it is reported to us. There are a bunch of steps it has to go through. It has to be confirmed. It has to be certified by the medical examiner. It has to be a death certificate has to list COVID-19 as the cause of death. And then sometimes it goes straight to the state, depending on where it's coming from. Sometimes it goes straight to the county, which then reports it to the state. So it takes some time. So those 51 deaths are not 51 people who died today or yesterday, right? Now, what that also means, though, is that you go through that process, and people are out on the weekends, right? And offices are closed. So you typically get lower numbers of deaths reported on the weekends. What concerns me about this is that we've never had 51 be considered a lower number. Last weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we had 12. 2 weekends ago, on Saturday, it was 11. Several weeks before that, it was like 5. So to see 51 on a Saturday is concerning. We will see what tomorrow looks like. Sunday is typically lower than Saturday even. So we'll see if we get a dip tomorrow. I kind of hope we do. Our current 7-day average of deaths is 54.3, which is 54.4 yesterday. So a little different, but not much. Our 14-day average of deaths is now 50. It's the first time that's been over, that's been that high, has reached 50. Our total death toll, by the way, is now over 3,000. So it's 3,005. Total number of cases is now past 350,000. It's now 351,170. Our active cases only went up a little bit today. That's good to see. 75,900. It's a lot. But yeah, that's been jumping by 1,000 or 2,000 every day, and it only went up about 100 today. So that's okay, fine. That's good. Let's talk about where these deaths are happening. Most of them, and not most of them, the highest number was in Milwaukee County with 10. So they're really spread out today. There's no place other than Milwaukee County that has double digits, 10, and then Waukesha County in second with 5. So it drops off pretty quick. And then Eau Claire has 4, Wapaka and Dane each have 3. Wood, Outagamie, Kenosha, and Grant each report 2. And then Trempealeau, Rock, Richland, Racine, Portage, Pierce, Marquette, Marathon, Lincoln, Langlade, Forest, Dorr, Dodge, Clark, Chippewa, Burnett, Bayfield, and Barron each report one. I think I will have to check this to make sure, but I believe Marathon County has reported at least one death like every day this week. And there was a couple of days when they were like at 7 and 9. Marathon County's having a rough time right now. In terms of new cases, the highest per capita today. Ooh, this is bad. Chippewa County. 206 new cases in Chippewa County. That translates to 317.5 per 100,000 residents. That's kind of by far the highest. The second highest is Pepin County, 284 per 100,000. Jackson County, 283. Then Dodge County, 220. Trempealeau County, 189. Douglas County, 188.5. Rusk County, 177. You'll notice a pattern here. Douglas County, Buffalo County, 174.7. La Crosse County, 173.9. Washington County, 171.6. And then finally you get to Racine County at 170.3. And then there's more rural counties: Barron, Rock, Manitowoc, Sheboygan. It's the rural counties that are really getting hit hard right now. You look at the pure number of cases, it doesn't look that way necessarily. Pepin County has 21 new cases today. But that's Pepin County, 21 cases in Pepin County is equivalent to like 600 in Milwaukee County, right? So, yeah, nowhere is immune right now. Every county is having significant issues. Ashland County today only has 12.6 new cases per 100,000, but they had a higher number yesterday. So that might be just a reporting lag issue. Okay. I believe that might be all of that's kind of the daily data. No, yeah, thank you, Paula. Paula mentions Marathon and 17 deaths this week. I think, yep. I hadn't added it up, so I appreciate you doing that for me, Paula. But yeah, pretty much at least one or two every day, I'm pretty sure. Julianne notices my little enhancement. As I mentioned, like over the past week, I've had this sort of new studio set up here, this new video thing set up, and that's one of the little bells and whistles I get to do now. Anne mentions that there was there are recounts happening in Dane and Milwaukee counties, and there are a lot of people in there, and people are being kicked out if they're not wearing their masks right. I know of at least one person who was told 3 times to put his mask over his nose and refused to do so, and was kicked out. I've heard of other issues like that. So that's a real concern. That's a real concern. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the sort of the positive percent rate, and just give you kind of a look at what this looks like here. As you can see, this is the entire period of the pandemic. Okay. And I'm going to take this. You can't quite see the bottom of it. I'm going to take this off, actually. There. Now you can see the whole thing. You don't need to be reminded that you're watching a Madison365. You know that. So you can see here. Well, okay. March 25th is when Governor Evers. Well, you can't. I'm not sure if you can see. Anyway, shoot, I was hoping you could see my little pointer here thing. I'm not sure that you can. Can you see the pointer? I'm not sure how to do this, but you can see the pointer. Down the left-hand side here, you can see when the stay-at-home order went into effect, and we see this dip here. And then you can see that at the end here in the upper right. Oh, you can. Okay, good. So I will use the count pointer then. Thank you. So here, the 25th is when the stay-at-home order goes into effect. See, it kind of flattens. It takes a week or two to actually take effect, or to have an impact, and then we flatten off, and then we start to come down. And then here, May 13th, the Supreme Court overturns that. You'll note the positive test rate of 5.8, which was, we thought was bad at the time. But then, June was pretty good. The month of June was pretty good. Then we start to go up in July. And there's July 4th, and everybody goes out to party on July 4th, and things start to go up and up and up. And then school starts. Boom. School starts, and we go like this. Now, and then, just all hell breaks loose in the fall, as was predicted. Now, here's Halloween. We worried about a big spike after Halloween. We have not really seen that to this point. You'd expect to see this obviously continues to go up, but it's not going up any faster. You expect to see a steepening or a bigger spike than was already happening like a week after Halloween. So a week after Halloween is like the 7th of November. That's when it actually turns the corner and starts to go down. So that's the good news, is we didn't see that big spike from Halloween. And now I will also say that these daily numbers here, this is the number of cases identified each day. That's the number of cases number of positive tests that were actually processed each day, which is different than the number I give you every day. The number I give you every day is, these are the new confirmed cases that we know about now. Like today's 6,224 cases actually were processed over the past 3 or 4 days. So there might be like 1,000 of them yesterday, 1,200 the day before that, 3,000 the day before that, But these are the actual numbers of the tests that were actually processed when they were processed. So if we're looking backwards here, on the 11th was actually our highest day with almost 9,000 new cases that day. That's not what I reported that day, but a lot of those were in that batch of 7,989 that I reported on Thursday, right? Wednesday, this past Wednesday, because it takes them a few days to get into the data. So, but the good news is, look at this coming down here, and I can't figure out why this is happening. I'll take it. I like it. But you can see it's dramatic. Like, it's coming down. This positive test rate, which is kind of the measure of how we're doing, is coming down quickly. And I'm not 100% sure why. One thought I have is that if you've been shopping recently, people are stocking up again. Like, going shopping right now is like going shopping it was in March, except everybody's masked now. We weren't masking up yet in March, but everybody's stocking up on toilet paper, canned goods, meats, stuff like that. People are ordering food online again. Like, it's taking an extra couple of days to get an order from Costco, right? So I feel like people are, well, you all are correct that there are places around Wausau, Texas Roadhouse. There are places around the state where people are still ignoring it. I think there might be just enough of us who are pulling back and hunkering down like we did back in March. That might be actually turning the corner a little bit. I hope that's the case. It also might be that people are hunkering down right now so they can feel okay about going to Thanksgiving, which would not be the best idea. right? You can't like hunker down for a week or two and then go to a bunch of big parties and expect everything to be okay, because there's at least one or two other people it's at Thanksgiving who did not hunker down properly. So I would be very careful of that. Anne mentions that RT is looking better. That's absolutely true. The rate of transmission the is actually 1.04 right now, which is much better than it has been. It has been as high as it's been hovering around 1.1, 1.12, and is actually a little bit lower. This is the number of people infected by each infected person. So that's correlates to that downward trend of the positive test rate. Those are both measures of basically the same thing. The spread is slowing somewhat right now over the past 5 or 6 days. Let's hope that keeps up. Let's hope it is that people have woken up, that enough people have decided, let's settle down. Let's not do this anymore. I'm not aware of any large school systems changing. I mean, a few schools have returned to virtual for a couple of weeks or something like that, but it's not enough to affect the entire state numbers like that. So we'll just keep an eye on it. We will expect to see a significant increase right around the 1st of December if Thanksgiving is going to be a problem. If Thanksgiving becomes a problem, December 1st-ish is when we'll start to see things go back upward. Dolores asks a good question. Could it be that rallies are over? I don't think so. I don't think I didn't see any indication that political rallies actually led to big spikes. There was one sort of analysis of data that was done by a journalist, not by a scientist. Done by, I want to say USA Today, or maybe it was CNN. CNN did one, and USA did one. One of them was good. One of them was really bad. I can't remember which is which now. I'm sorry. But there was one that indicated that some of the Trump rallies might have had some impact, but not significant. And there just weren't that many in Wisconsin. You know, Trump was here like 3 or 4 times. And I don't think it doesn't. I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible, Dolores. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't think those had a significant impact at the time. So them being over shouldn't be turning it downward. Although, you know, it's possible. It also could be that there's many factors. It could be several different things happening at once, and the end of rallies being one of them. What was 5 times in Washington? Trump came with their. I think it's possible that I don't think Trump came to Wausau 5 times, did he? He might have. But there also may have been lots of rallies where Trump wasn't there. It was just lots of rallies, you know. Catherine asked a good question. Why are North Dakota and South Dakota about the lowest RT, but the world's worst with the virus? Because North Dakota, South Dakota, or because RT, the rate of transmission, that's not actually what it stands for, isn't okay, how do I say this? It depends on how much virus you already have, right? So if your rate of transmission is, I'm going to bring this back up again here. Back here, the rate of transmission in Wisconsin was like 3. And up here, it's at 1.12. And by here, it's like 1.04. So it kind of, the RT can only affect, the RT is only related to the number of people you already have infected. Right? So if you have 100 people infected and your RT is 3, you're going to have 400 cases, because each one of those 100 will pass on to 3 other people. You have 400 cases. You have 400. That's it. Whereas if you have 75,000 people currently actively sick, because here's our problem. Here's the problem. This is the thing of scale, right? So we have right now 75,900 people currently actively ill, right? If our RT is 1.04, those 75,900 people will turn into 78,936. And then that 78,000 people, that 79,000 people, will turn into 82,093. This will happen very quickly. This is going to happen over the course of a few days. Whereas if you only have 1,000 people sick, or 100 people sick at 1.04, it's going to be much lower. So the fact that their RT is low that's good for them. That's fine. But they already have so many people sick that even a relatively low RT is still causing a lot more infection. Right? I hope that makes sense. I think that's, I'm trying to do my very best as a non-scientist to explain this stuff. This is really interesting. Let's go back to the rallies. This is interesting. One of his people were here that made. So there were 5 Trump rallies in Marathon County. I did not know this. I'm sorry. I'm glad you mentioned this, because 5 Trump rallies inside Marathon County, even though Trump wasn't there every time, but Pence was, and other people, Don Jr., and some of them were indoors, some of them were outdoors. That might actually explain part of what's happening in Marathon County right now. Because to be honest with you, even though the rest of the state is curving like this, Marathon County still isn't. Marathon County is still kind of in rough shape. But the fact that those rallies aren't happening right now is probably helping, at least in Marathon County. But also, Marathon County schools are still in session, and Marathon County people are still eating at Texas Roadhouse, as somebody else commented earlier. So yeah, northern Wisconsin, for the most part, folks aren't paying a lot of attention, I don't think, which is hard to tell. Okay, so that is. I think that's about what I have for you today. I'll be back tomorrow, as I mentioned in in your little scroll at the bottom there. We are local, independent, nonprofit community journalism. That's what we do. It's important to us that everyone has access to the news and the most up-to-date information all the time, and without having to pay for it, because it's important. Like, it's important for democracy. It's important for your health. It's really important that everybody has access to the news. Hey, Randy, how you doing? Good to see you. If you have a few dollars and can pitch a few dollars to us, please do so. And here's the kicker for that. Right now, we're qualified for the News Match program, which is basically doubles every donation you make. We also got a surprise from the DEI fund, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Fund. We didn't even apply for it. They just offered it to us, an extra $7,000 in matching funds. So any donation you make right now, up until we hit that $7,000 goal, is actually tripled. And we only have about $1,000 to go to get to the goal. We're already almost at $6,000. So if you want to get in on that tripling, now's the time to do it. You give us $10, we get 30. You give us 100, we get 300. Like that. It's really simple. It's like no questions asked, no strings attached. Like, we send them a spreadsheet and we show them how much donation we got in this 2-month period, and they cut us a check for that amount. It's like super simple. And it's legit. I mean, it's the Knight Foundation, it's Democracy Fund, it's these national players who put this big pot of money together and are splitting it up among about 200 different nonprofit newsrooms across the country, including a few others in Wisconsin. Wisconsin Center for Investigative Journalism also is in on this, for example. So, like, this is not just us. This is like nonprofit news generally is what you're supporting with us. Whatever donation you can make to us, it's kind of supporting this whole nonprofit news movement that we're part of. which is pretty exciting. So, okay, I will be, so that's Madison365.org/donate. Thank you so much, Brandy Racing, for the endorsement. Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with with another update. And then Monday morning, we'll be back with It's Only 10 Minutes daily podcast for you. And I've already got some really good news stories for you lined up for Monday morning. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, and we will see you again tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.